On the eve of my departure for a competition, my wife and her lover conspired to knock me unconscious and push me from the second floor. I suffered a crippled left leg and an injured right hand. She even threatened me into silence by holding my mother's medical expenses over my head, and shamelessly flirted with her lover right beside my hospital bed. It directly infuriated my mother to death. After I found an old friend to expose the truth, the lover had his leg broken and was sentenced to death. But could merely surrendering to jail atone for her sins? No, her retribution had only just begun. My wife knocked me unconscious and threw me downstairs, crippling me, all so her beloved could win the race. The night before the race, I was knocked unconscious and pushed from the second floor, bleeding profusely. Sophia, terrified and pale, rushed over and tearfully took me to the hospital for emergency treatment. My life was saved, but my left leg was severely injured, and my right hand was crippled in the fall. When I woke up, I cried for a long time, clutching my left leg. As a race car driver, losing the use of my limbs meant I was undeniably a cripple. Sophia also held me, crying with me, promising she wouldn't abandon me, and would face everything with me. Eventually, I cried myself unconscious, but in my stupor, I overheard Sophia talking with her friend. Sophia, too ruthless. To help Blake win the race, you actually conspired with him to knock Ethan unconscious and push him downstairs. When you saw his leg wasn't broken yet, you even tried to bribe a doctor to forcibly break it, to make him a cripple. So what if he's crippled? I'll take care of him for the rest of my life. No one can compete with Blake for first place. I gripped the bedsheets tightly, letting tears blur my vision. It turned out the culprit was the person beside me, my own wife. Is it worth hurting him like this for Blake? If Ethan discovers your secret, both you and Blake will be in trouble. Sophia raised her hand and gently stroked my face, but her fingernail actually cut my skin. This secret will remain buried forever, and no one is allowed to tell him. And even if Ethan finds out one day, so what? His mother's life is in my hands. Since he's crippled, he'll naturally lose his job, and stay home to recover from his injuries, and his mother's medical expenses will still depend on me to pay. So, what can he do even if he knows the secret? Her friend was stunned, never imagining Sophia could go to such extremes for Blake. Sophia, I advise you not to mess around. You've already caused Ethan to break his leg. If you hurt his mother too, he'll die, he'll go insane. You can't be this cruel to him. After all, you did like him enough to agree to marry him, didn't you? The cold air in the hospital room made me shiver, but what Sophia said next sent shivers down my spine. What does that bit of love I bestowed on him even matter? Blake is the one I truly love. How could I stand by and watch the person I love most suffer? Ethan has won plenty of first places and many awards, but what about Blake? He hasn't. As long as Ethan is around, Blake will never get his chance to shine. Finally, Sophia's friend was so enraged by her words that he walked out. Just then, Blake walked in. As soon as he entered, he embraced Sophia and kissed her. Their faint gasps grew louder and louder in the hospital room, until finally, Sophia pushed Blake's hand away. No, not here. What if Ethan suddenly wakes up and sees us like this? Go to your race. No. Before the race, I want to be with you. Consider it encouragement. Sophia glanced at my unconscious form. Seeing no signs of me waking, she agreed to Blake's shameless request. An agonizing pain tore through my chest, yet I couldn't wake up and confront the despicable pair, because Eleanor's life was in Sophia's hands. She was actually capable of such depravity towards me, all for Blake. I had truly loved the wrong person. Soon after, Blake, looking satisfied, got dressed. Before leaving, he even raised a hand and disdainfully patted my face. Ethan, look at you now. From now on, I'll take over all the awards and glory for you, and of course, that includes her. With that, he put his arm around Sophia and left the hospital room, heading to the race venue. Only after they left did I open my eyes. To protect my leg, I had to leave the hospital before Sophia returned. I limped out, dragging my severely injured leg, but soon after, I received a video call from Sophia. Ethan, where are you? You injured? Why are you running around? Tell me where you are quickly. I've already hired the best doctor, who can heal your leg. Don't you want to continue racing? Racing, for you, is your entire hope. Ha, she knew racing was my life, yet she still chose to destroy it. If I didn't run, was I supposed to wait for her to cripple my leg? Sophia, stop pretending, okay? You know perfectly well how my leg got injured. In the video, Sophia's face flashed with a momentary panic and guilt. She hadn't expected that I already knew her secret. You know everything. I didn't speak, but stared at her with extreme coldness. As I looked at her face, which I had once adored, I now found it utterly repulsive and hateful. If Blake had won against me, through his own skill in the race, I would have nothing to say, but the fact that they used such despicable means to win against me, I would never forgive them, not even in death. Since you already know everything, you'll have to show up whether you want to or not, because your mother's life is in my hands. Sophia stood up and shifted the video to Eleanor, who lay on the hospital bed, eyes closed, breathing rapidly. I suddenly stood up, a sharp pain shooting through my leg, but I ignored it. Sophia's pale, slender fingers rested on the oxygen tube, and she said with chilling seriousness, "Ethan, choose one, your leg or your mother's life." Unprecedented fury surged through me, and with bloodshot eyes, I glared hatefully at the utterly deranged Sophia. "Sophia, stop that, damn it. I want to know why doing this to me. Is Blake truly more important to you than anyone else? Even more than other people's lives?" Sophia didn't speak, only urged me to make a choice. I clenched my fists tightly, veins bulging with rage. One was the dream I had pursued my entire life, the other my only blood relative in this world. At that moment, I felt as though I had been pushed into an abyss, filled with such despair and profound grief. "Ethan, you have 5 minutes. If you don't choose now, I'll pull out the oxygen tube, and your mother will suffocate to death. I think, between your dream and your loved one, I'll choose the latter, right?" Sophia watched me with a cold, mocking gaze, but I was helpless. Just as she prepared to act, I closed my eyes in agony. We had once loved each other, hadn't we? I thought she was only threatening me to scare me, but seeing her about to pull out Eleanor's oxygen tube, all the love I had given her burned to ashes, all the happy memories consumed by fire, leaving no trace. "Sophia, put your hand down. I am in the park behind the hospital. I am coming back now." I don't know how I walked out of the park. I walked like a ghost without a soul, utterly distraught, accompanied by the blare of an approaching car horn. Crash. I was hit by a car and fell to the ground. I knew my leg wouldn't be okay. It was broken. Even if surgery could heal it, Sophia wouldn't allow it. Why hasn't he woken up yet? Sophia clutched my hand, her voice filled with anxious worry. Anyone unaware would have thought she loved me deeply. I didn't want to wake up, nor did I want to speak to her, because now I felt disgust and revulsion just looking at her. Oh, why go to such lengths? "Sophia, be careful with your heart. If you truly fall in love with Ethan, he'll plunge into a bottomless abyss." Her unconscious actions revealed her true feelings to her friend. Though she claimed to love Blake, her current demeanor betrayed her. Overthinking it. "I am concerned about Ethan because I am afraid he'll die, and I don't want to be responsible for a death. The person I've always loved is Blake, the boy who, in my youth, jumped into the river without hesitation to save me." No sooner had she spoken than the TV in the hospital room began broadcasting the final results of the race. Blake won the race, took first place, and stood on the podium where I once stood, holding the trophy and hypocritically expressing concern for me. This caused many of my fans to turn their attention to him. A sharp pain shot through my chest. Would I really never be able to return to the racetrack and compete again? Tears silently streamed down my face, wetting the pillow. I painfully opened my eyes, and saw Blake on TV, gloriously holding the trophy and giving interviews to various media outlets. Sophia watched the TV with fascination. Seeing me awake, she immediately walked to my side, and reached out to support my shoulder. "Ethan, are you feeling better? Don't blame me for being heartless. Blame unfair destiny instead. If Blake was born, why was Ethan also born?" I pushed Sophia away, cutting off her nauseating words. "Destiny? Ha! You chose to break my leg. What does destiny have to do with it? Committing a crime? I am going to. What are you going to do? Don't forget your mother's medication. After all, you've lost everything now. No income means no ability to pay for those exorbitant medical bills." Sophia raised her hand to wipe away my tears, her movements incredibly gentle. "All right, I'll pay for Eleanor's medical expenses from now on. You just need to be obedient." I turned my head away, not wanting her to touch my face again. Only now did I understand why she had only married me, and held a wedding reception, but kept delaying getting our marriage license. It turned out she was unwilling to get our marriage license back then. fearing Blake would be upset. Just then, Sophia received a call. Blake wanted her to join him at a celebration. He even asked her to bring me along. I adamantly refused to go. My leg wasn't healed yet, but Sophia ordered her bodyguards to come in and forcibly take me out. At the celebration, I saw Blake surrounded by people, as if he were the center of the universe. He saw me too, immediately put down his drink, and theatrically walked over, crouching at my feet. "Ethan, how's your leg?" "Ah, it's truly a tragic loss of talent. Now that your leg is broken, you won't be able to race again, will you?" "Don't worry, I'll win trophies for you. Quickly, go get my trophy, and show it to Ethan. Let him cheer up a bit." Soon, a bodyguard came over, holding the trophy. Blake took it like a treasure, his tone filled with pride and excitement. "This is my first trophy. Its significance is immense. It will encourage me to never fear difficulties, and always press forward. Ethan, here." Before I could speak, Blake forcefully took my hand, and shoved the trophy into it. He deliberately squeezed the back of my hand hard, making the veins bulge. The pain made my eyes grow cold, and I involuntarily let go. The trophy suddenly slipped from my grasp, falling heavily to the ground and shattering. "Ah, my trophy!" A piercing cry mixed with anguish rang out. Blake quickly knelt down to pick up his trophy. "Ethan, how could you do that? I know you can't compete anymore since your leg is broken, but you can't be jealous of me. It's not like I am the one who did this to you. Do you really have to break my trophy?" Sophia also rushed over frantically, and slapped me across the face. Her eyes, like a venomous snake, glared at me. "Vent your anger on me, if you must. But if I ever see you hurt Blake again, I will never forgive you." My fans were there too. They heard and saw this whole charade, and couldn't help but be utterly disappointed in me. They began to question my character, and discuss everything about me. Unanimously, they unfollowed me, saying they had turned from fans to haters, and all went to follow the handsome and kind-hearted Blake, becoming his fans. When Blake saw this, he secretly smirked, and looked at me with immense triumph. I was unable to defend myself. No one present would believe anything I said, because Blake only showed them what he had orchestrated. I bit my lip so hard I tasted blood before I finally let go. Sophia, with a dark expression, told her bodyguards to take me back. The next day, I hadn't woken up yet when the housekeeper woke me. "Sir, you need to go to the hospital right away," the nurse just called, and said Eleanor has woken up. I rushed to the hospital, the gloom on my face replaced by excitement. Eleanor hadn't opened her eyes since she fell into a coma, and I had already given up hope of her ever waking up. But when I arrived at the hospital, limping in with my crutches, I heard Blake cruelly provoking Eleanor, who had just woken up. "Old woman, because of you, your son's life is ruined by me. If I want his leg broken, it gets broken. If I want to sleep with his wife, I can do it anytime. Ethan also has to obediently listen because of your life, and swallow the humiliation. If I were you, I'd be too ashamed to lie there. You." Eleanor, enraged by Blake's words, coughed up blood and died. I hadn't even had a chance to see her one last time, or say a single word to her. Before we were separated by life and death forever, like a madman, I ignored the pain in my leg, and lunged forward, punching Blake in the face. But relying on crutches, my movements were hindered, and I was no match for him at all. He pinned me to the ground, a cigarette in his mouth, blowing smoke in my face. "You dead cripple, look at the state you're in now. Pa, you got what you deserved today. Do you want to know why Sophia dotes on me so much? Hey, I have you to thank for that. Back then, she fell into the water, and you saved her. But when she woke up, she saw me, and assumed I was her rescuer. Ha ha ha." It was hard not to claim the credit. I struggled to my feet, gripping my crutch, and struck him on the head. Sophia rushed in just then, and witnessed the scene without thinking. She raised her leg and kicked me down with force. "Ethan, are you tired of living?" I fell beside Eleanor, the wound on my leg tearing open, bleeding profusely. I clutched Eleanor's cold body, sobbing aloud. Sophia helped the unharmed Blake up and walked out, without even stopping to check on Eleanor. Mom, please, wake up." But sadly, she could no longer hear my words. I don't know how long I cried until no more tears would come. I gently laid Eleanor down, picked up my phone, and dialed an unfamiliar number. "You owe me a favor from back then, now you can repay it." Soon, the person who came to pick me up arrived. As I left the hospital, I brushed past Sophia, who had returned. I didn't know why she had returned, but from that day forward, we would never see each other again. When Sophia arrived at Eleanor's room and found neither of us, she panicked. She grabbed a nurse. "Where is the patient from this room?" "Ms. Gian, didn't you know? The patient woke up an hour ago, but then, for some reason, passed away." Sophia's eyes widened sharply. "What did you say?" "Eleanor and I were sent abroad, traveling on Olivia's private jet. Once we arrived at her residence, Eleanor's body was sent for cremation. I was taken to the hospital by Olivia's people, and surgery immediately began to treat my broken leg. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself in a VIP hospital room. Olivia, as indifferent as ever, sat peeling an apple. When she saw me wake, a rare smile appeared in her cold eyes. "You're awake, don't move around too much. The tendons and bones in your leg have just been reconnected. All you need to do now is recover. As for everything else, put it aside for now." Olivia fed me a piece of apple, a faint smile on her lips as she spoke. Back then, her investments had failed, and her company faced a crisis. At that time, I was at the peak of my career, and she was also my closest friend from college. I used all my funds to help her through that difficult period. She was stunned then, because back then, everyone avoided her, and no one was willing to give her money to help. She hadn't expected me to help her without hesitation. Olivia hugged me, crying emotionally. She said, "Only in times of hardship do you see true character. Ethan, when I climb back to the top, just say the word, and I will definitely help you." I ate the apple she fed me, then asked her, "And Eleanor's ashes?" "Don't worry, I've placed them in an urn, and they are here at my home, waiting for you to be discharged from the hospital so you can lay her to rest." I raised my head, a bitter sorrow continuously assailing my heart. At the same time, another strange emotion arose within me, hatred. "Do you know how my leg was broken?" Sophia and Blake knocked me unconscious and pushed me from the second floor. They did it to stop me from competing. She wanted Blake to win. After one failed attempt, they sought another chance. She threatened me with Eleanor's life, and later, Blake even infuriated Eleanor to death right after she woke up. The hospital room suddenly became eerily silent. Olivia's hand, holding the apple, tightened. The smile in her eyes slowly faded, replaced by a ruthless glint. The apple in her hand slipped and fell. Her expression was furious. "Sophia is utterly shameless. You saved her life back then, yet she repaid your kindness with enmity. She didn't know I was the one who saved her. She woke up and assumed it was Blake. That just makes her foolish, to assume the first person she saw upon waking was her savior. Didn't she bother to check that despicable pair? I will definitely help you get your revenge." With that, Olivia took out her phone and had someone investigate Sophia's drowning incident from back then, hoping to find surveillance footage. And now I had no reservations, asking Olivia to help me call the police. I wanted Blake to pay for everything he had done. After Sophia heard the nurse's words, she instantly became agitated. She grabbed the nurse by the collar and demanded sharply, "How is that possible? My mother-in-law was in a vegetative state. How could she wake up? And how could she die right after waking?" The nurse was stunned by Sophia's aggressive behavior. She raised a hand and pointed to the surveillance cameras above. "Ms. Gian, if you don't believe me, you can check the footage yourself." Without another word, Sophia let go and turned to walk out. In the hallway, she ran into her friend. "You came at the perfect time. I need your help with something. Take me to the surveillance room. I want to know what happened regarding Ethan's mother's death." Her friend gave her a cold glance, his tone distant and detached. "You said you weren't interested in Ethan's affairs, didn't you? So why are you investigating his mother? Shouldn't you be with Blake right now, celebrating with him and congratulating him for triumphing in a despicable manner, for the trophy he gained by harming others? Enough. Stop ridiculing me. I don't necessarily need your help. I never regret what I've done." Sophia glared angrily at her friend, then pushed him aside, and walked towards the surveillance room herself. Her friend followed, seeing the panic on Sophia's face. A clear sign she wasn't as indifferent as she claimed. She had clearly already fallen in love with him, yet she hadn't realized it. Sophia arrived at the surveillance room, and asked the staff to immediately show her everything that happened in Eleanor's room. Before long, they found the cause of Eleanor's death. Sophia clenched her fists tightly, watching in disbelief as Blake triumphantly mocked Ethan's mother. She had just weakly opened her eyes, only to see not her own son, but someone cursing her as a burden. She cried, crying heartbrokenly. In the end, she passed away spitting blood, without even seeing her son's face. Next, it showed Ethan and Blake's violent fight. and the words Blake spoke were undoubtedly like a sharp sword, plunging deep into Sophia's heart. Haha, the one who saved her back then was clearly you. But when she woke up and saw me, she assumed I was the one who rescued her. Sophia's face instantly turned ashen, her body swayed violently, and the phone in her hand slipped to the floor, with the third. It jolted her heart awake. No, this can't be. Ethan was the one who saved me back then, not Blake. No one could answer her question, and she didn't dare to think about it anymore. If that were truly the case, then her sins for everything she had done to Ethan for Blake's sake would be even greater. Therefore, she had to find Ethan now and get clarification. Her friend said coldly from behind her, Sophia, when you chose this path, you should have known that the relationship between you and Ethan would only be hatred, not love. What do you intend to say if you find him? Ask him if he was the one who saved your life back then, and if he says yes, what then? Offer empty apologies, say you shouldn't have treated him that way for Blake. Do you think Ethan would listen? Would he forgive you? Sophia stumbled, her body crashing hard against the door. Her face was even paler than before, utterly drained of color. Even if Blake was the one who saved your life, you still shouldn't have sacrificed everything of Ethan's to gain glory for him. Competition relies on individual ability, not underhanded tactics. You've committed serious crimes for Blake's sake. Sophia's friend's words finally shook her awake. She no longer hesitated. She picked up her phone to call me until the cold, robotic female voice reminded her her number had been blocked by me. Sophia's heart sank as if into the ocean. Refusing to give up, she kept calling, and even sent messages on WhatsApp, only to panic when she saw the merciless red exclamation marks. She finally realized that I was gone, vanished without a trace. Clutching her frantic heart, she had someone investigate her drowning incident from back then. She wanted to know if Blake was truly the one who saved her. She locked herself in her hospital room, seeing no one, just waiting for the results. The next afternoon, the results didn't come from her own investigators, but from an unknown number sending her a video. Sophia's hand trembled as she slowly reached for her phone, her shaking fingertip tapping to open the video. When she saw that Ethan was the one who had saved her, she could no longer stand, and her body collapsed to the floor. Her breathing immediately became shallow and ragged, as if an invisible hand was brutally clutching her throat, nearly suffocating her. She tried to get up and walk, but found her legs so weak she couldn't even stand. How could this be? Ethan was the one who saved her, not Blake. It was Blake who had impersonated Ethan, making her believe in him so completely, and give him everything. At that moment, Sophia felt utterly shattered. She covered her ears tightly, crying out in agony. She couldn't bear this truth, because for Blake, she had hurt the person she truly loved to the point of near death. Tears streamed down her face uncontrollably. She reached to wipe them away, but only more came. She propped up her trembling body, and stumbled out, looking utterly disheveled. As soon as she returned home, she saw red rose petals scattered all over the floor. She followed the trail of petals and found Blake already waiting for her in the pond she had once built for him. Beside him was a woman's lace negligee. Blake stood up with immense pleasure, and slowly approached Sophia. Sophia, why don't you dump Ethan and marry me? Anyway, you never got a marriage license with him back then. You just held a wedding reception. Blake's words made Sophia freeze for a moment. Only then did she realize what other outrageous things she had done to me for Blake's sake. But Blake was lost in his own world, completely oblivious to the ruthless glint that flashed across Sophia's face. She leaned in close to his ear, and gave a cruel chuckle. I am very tired today. I am not interested in playing with you, but very soon, I'll give you a very big surprise. Before Blake could find out what the surprise was, he smiled and drained the red wine in his hand. 3 hours later, Blake held an autograph session with his fans. He smugly put his arm around fans' shoulders, took photos with them, maintaining his perfect public image. However, at that moment, everything about the glory he had gained by harming me was broadcast. It played on every large screen, and everyone watched intently. Blake's face turned ashen with fear. He stood there, at a loss, when his fans learned of his ugly side, that everything he had won was through unscrupulous means. They overturned the tables and spat in Blake's face. My fans, however, cried until their eyes were red, feeling both sadness and rage. Ultimately, Blake had one of his legs broken by the out-of-control crowd. The higher he stood, the harder he fell. He was universally despised and condemned. I watched the news reports, detailing how despicable Blake was. The long-held gloom in my heart finally dissipated significantly. I looked at Olivia, and she looked back at me. My people just found out that it wasn't me who leaked Blake's secrets, it was Sophia. That left me confused, but I wasn't given time to understand what was happening, because Sophia called me from another number. Hello? Is this Ethan? As soon as I heard Sophia's voice, I quickly pressed the end call button, immediately blocking and deleting her number. After recovering from my injuries at the hospital, I was discharged. Eleanor hadn't been buried yet, and she didn't want to stay abroad, so Olivia accompanied me back to our home country. I found a perfectly serene and beautiful spot, and buried Eleanor there. I am sure she would be very happy. I gazed at the distant scenery, letting the gentle breeze caress my face. Olivia silently stayed by my side. She knew I needed a moment of peace. As the sun was about to set, Olivia asked me, Ethan, what do you plan to do next? I looked at my leg. It was crippled. I could never return to the racing world. This would be a lifelong pain for me. Seeing my silence, Olivia smiled and said, how about you become a coach? I thought her suggestion was excellent. That way, I could return to the racing world, work, and help new talents make a name for themselves. Olivia, thank you. If you hadn't helped me, I don't know what I would have done. No need to thank me. You also helped me back then, guiding me out of the darkness. Finally, we exchanged smiles, understanding each other completely. Just then, the tranquility of the moment was shattered by a woman's voice. Ethan. The voice sounded urgent. I turned around and saw Sophia running towards me, her eyes red, her face etched with pain and regret. She reached out to grab my arm, but Olivia slapped her across the face. Sophia, how dare you show your face here to find him? Did you see he wasn't dead yet, and couldn't give up? So we're planning a third or fourth attempt. Sophia couldn't withstand Olivia's force, as she had put all her strength into the slap. She stumbled and fell at my feet. When she looked up, her eyes were blurred with tears. I am sorry. I don't know what to say to make you forgive me, but please believe me, I was deceived by Blake. Sophia cried heartbrokenly, her entire body trembling. She saw the grave behind me and crawled towards it, preparing to pay her respects. Olivia walked over, grabbed her hair forcefully, and dragged her away. Don't you dare defile Eleanor's resting place. Sophia, get out. I almost forgot, you're also Blake's accomplice. I am going to call the police and have you arrested. Who the hell are you? This is between me and my husband. What business is it of yours? I looked at Sophia coldly, a mocking smile on my face. Husband and wife. You mean husband and wife who never got a marriage license? Sophia, I actually have you to thank for never agreeing to get a marriage license with me back then. Otherwise, dealing with a divorce now would be a huge headache. Go. Any connection between us died the moment you pushed me downstairs. Sophia gave a bitter smile. Ethan, I know my sins are profound, and I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I just wanted to see you one last time, because I realized my heart quietly fell in love with you. But I loved you too late. She stood up, walked to Eleanor's grave site, and knelt heavily once more, kowtowing and apologizing. Even when her forehead was bruised and bleeding, she didn't stop. She said she would kowtow 300 times. I watched her indifferently, completely unmoved. When she swayed unsteadily, she stood up, blood on her face, and looked at me. Sophia, what's the point of all this now? The dead can't come back to life, and vanished feelings can't return to what they once were. People like you belong in hell. Sophia's face was covered in blood. After hearing my words, she remained silent for a long time. She knew that the two of us could never go back to how things were. You're right, I do belong in hell. To atone for my sins to Eleanor, after she finished speaking, she dragged her exhausted body away. Soon after, I received a property settlement agreement from her lawyer. She transferred all her personal assets to me, saying it was one way to atone for her sins. After Sophia had done all this, she surrendered herself, admitting that she had helped Blake and harmed her own husband. As for what happened next, I wasn't interested in hearing about it. However, Blake was sentenced to death for intentional homicide. As for Sophia, I didn't know about her until much later, at Olivia and my wedding, when I heard the news of Sophia's suicide. In prison, she frequently had nightmares, her mind tormented, and eventually, she couldn't bear it anymore, and took her own life. But it no longer concerned me. Now, I put all my energy into mentoring new racers.